At the Track is brought to you by Olin Brewery and the Maritime Harness Racing Track Operators.
Welcome to At the Track. I'm your host, Howie Trainer. Here we'll introduce you to the wonderful world of harness racing, and we'll look at it from every aspect, from the grandstand, from the sulky, from the starting gate, and from the officials' booth. We'll take a look at the people in harness racing, the people that own horses, the people that drive horses, the trainers, the breeders, and the officials. We'll look in front of the camera, and we'll go behind the scenes to introduce you to harness racing. Harness racing is a multi-million-dollar industry in the Maritimes, more than 8 tracks in operation year-round. Harness racing is a sport and an industry. It's a sport that very few people know of, and we plan to introduce you to it. Harness racing goes back more than 200 years. In the Maritimes, it's almost as old. We'll take a look at everything you want to know about harness racing. We'll explain the terms to you, we'll tell you all about it, and you'll meet some wonderful, interesting people and see some exciting racing. We'll be back after these messages.
Fast and made perfect.
Every sport has its patrons, and here in the Maritime Provinces, the sport of harness racing has had many. But right ranked near the top is the Webby stable of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, starting with Eric and Harry Webby, the brothers, and now with Eric Webby and son Wayne. Starting back in the mid-1950s with one horse, they've worked their way up to have one of the most powerful stables in eastern Canada, racing primarily free-for-all circuit horses. Paul Meunier took time out, went over and visited the Webby stable in Dartmouth.
It may not look like much, but this site in Dartmouth has been home for some of the finest four-legged athletes ever to race in the Maritimes. It began in 1955 when Eric Webby purchased his first horse. That was Dr. F. Chips. For years afterwards, Eric's and brother Harry's name appeared on many a windsheet. Harry was a silent partner in Eric's burgeoning hobby.
1957, they built the track, and at that particular time it was a sawdust track. They had a mill down the road, which was, I'd say, about a mile away, and they hauled all the sawdust from the mill and covered the track with sawdust. Eric's son, Wayne, took an interest in harness racing at an early age. I was reading pedigrees ever since I was 5 years old, I believe. When the fellows started training horses here, I was always around the horses. I trained horses back when Dave Pinckney was starting here in the early 60s and raced straight through till now. It's been about 25 to 30 years pretty well.
There have been so many moments like these for the Webbies. Keeping track is difficult. Some are unforgettable, like Andy's son. 1965, Maritime harness tracks were prospering like never before. Andy's son would win 35 of 45 starts that year. Sadly, he died when he was only 10 years old, just 1 year after he did 2 minutes on St. John's half-mile track, a new maritime record for a free-legged aged pacer. Quick Barron's memorable because of the victory at the Meadowlands in that track's inaugural dash. Ray Remen was in the bike, the time 1:57 and 2. There have been many other winners, so many that the Webbies couldn't find enough races in the Maritimes. Horses would be sent to the States and larger Canadian racing centers.
That kind of hurts my father because his main objective to having horses is to see them race. He does that because he's forced to do that. And he would never, I don't think, would ever send a horse away unless he has to have the choice. He doesn't have the choice.
Eric's keen eye for quality horses is indisputable, and his son has inherited the knack for conformation. The discovery of Wavor is proof.
We discovered that we picked the same horse out of 1,000 or 1,200 horses that was at that particular sale.
How does one pick and choose from thousands? We looked at one of the Webbies' latest potential stars, Big Cheer.
The straightness, from the outside right straight down through the knee, the ankle, the pastern, and the foot. It all should carry in a straight line. And then we go to the side of the horse. We also want a straight line down from the shoulder, right through the knee, and also the ankle, and this way, the angle this way.
It's a lesson that is quickly lost on anyone who hasn't studied for at least a few years. Clearly, though, there's more to horse trading than looking for linear perfection.
You hesitate with loss. When you go to buy them, that comes into it because there's somebody else out there ready to bid you up, and you got to go to the price that you want to pay. And that's to let the other man in.
And Dad always writes in the catalog before he buys them that he wants to go 6,000 or 7,000 or whatever have you. And that's usually the price he sticks with.
The Webbies will admit to numerous mistakes over the years, but they rarely acknowledge regret.
We never sold any that we really wanted to buy back.
Eric, the patriarch. Wayne isn't pushing his sons to follow in the business, for now he and his dad share a seemingly idyllic father-son relationship.
We've had our disagreements over the years. I don't think either one of us can hold a grudge. And I think that's the name of the game. If you have something to say, you say it. You get it over with, and in the next few minutes it's forgotten about. And that's the way we've always dealt in business and also with the horses.
It's simply a matter of respect.
I was down this year to Harrisburg, and the man Clearview Stable, Mr. Woolworth, from Kentucky. He recognized my father and came over, and he said, "Mr. Webby, I wish I had as many good horses as you've owned over the years." So he's recognized wherever he goes.
The Webbies in the winner's circle. This is Paul Meunier for At the Track.
We're not finished with Paul yet. While he was out moseying about, we had him drop over to Sackville Downs. Sackville Downs, located in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia, opened in the mid-1950s and has become the showcase of maritime harness racing. It was originally opened by the Cruikshank family of Halifax and last year underwent an ownership change, now is owned by Sussex Leaseholds. Glenn Pearson is the general manager, and Paul dropped by to look at Sackville and had a chat with Glenn.
Sackville Downs.
Two gentlemen by the name of Captain John Cruikshank and Bertram C. Cruikshank had a dream about racing horses, and they located Sackville Downs and found some property and put it all together. And in 1955, we opened the door here at the Downs. A lot of people were skeptical about winter racing here. But eventually, winter racing did come here, and now it's a year-round operation.
The dream is alive and well under new ownership and now under the direction of Glenn Pearson, who took the position of general manager a year ago. He had a successful stint at the Rideau Carlton in Ottawa and worked his way up through other tracks in Ontario. This is his first job east.
I think there's a lot of potential here. The bet is up. As far as first, second, or third impressions go, it's hard to say. It's a different way of life in the Maritimes Canada, and everybody has to get used to that situation. I found myself, it's hard for me to adapt sometimes in my ways of thinking. And here it's a more do something, take an attitude, or wait and see how it's going to turn out. Whereas in Ontario, probably a lot of racetracks in Quebec, it's do it and get it done now. Here it's a slower process. A lot of people don't like a lot of change. We've made a lot of changes here, and they've accepted those changes. But only time is going to tell if all the changes we've made are going to turn around in the bottom line for the bet.
Sackville Downs is enjoying one of its best winters ever. In fact, on a per capita basis, Sackville Downs winter figures place it at the top of all Canadian tracks. Bet and attendance are up 15.8%. The average bet is $90,000 per day. Pearson cites good weather this winter and inter-track betting with Truro Raceway.
And when you run the inter-track, you must assume a lot of things, and it's hard to figure out how many people would be here that wouldn't be here if you didn't have the inter-track and all this business. We would estimate that anywhere from 33 to 50% of the people that are now attending the races in Truro would drive down to Sackville and see the races live here if there was no inter-track. So in fact, you're talking about maybe 50% lost revenue that are generated at the inter-track.
There could be other reasons for Sackville Downs' success this winter. General Manager Pearson has adopted a new marketing strategy.
We're marketing the racetrack now more on the entertainment dollar as opposed to, everybody knows you can bet at the racetrack. We'd like to see everybody come out here and bet $100 or $200 a head, but we know that that's not going to happen. We're more interested in getting the people here. They'll have a good time once they get here. They'll enjoy themselves. Their entertainment dollar will go just as far as anybody else's. Your chances of winning are greater than the 6, 4, 9 and the bingos and all the rest of it. There's only 1 in 8. Mind you, your payout might be small, but if you multiply that over 2 or 3 successes in the day, you'll find that you know, your return will be greater for your money. But basically, we're looking at the entertainment dollar, trying to promote the comfort of the fan once he gets here.
And the track's new owners have put $500,000 of improvements into it.
The basic improvements that we made here at Sackville Downs, starting over in the backstretch in the barn area, is first of all paint. We're trying to constitute our colors as blue and white. We've fixed up the barn area quite a bit. We've added 2 or 3 new stables this year. As a result, we have some 300 stalls available for horsemen in the backstretch right now, which is up from about 250 of the previous year. We've cleaned the parking lot up. We've paved a lot of it. We've painted all the light poles that are there. As you move in towards the racetrack, you'll see that the entranceway in itself is all cleaned up and that there was some $150,000 spent trying to beautify the landscaping and clean up the front so it gives a warm type feeling when you arrive at the racetrack. Into the building, we moved the canteen. Right beside the canteen, you'll find a new bar, which the new Winter Circle Lounge. That lounge was moved from upstairs to downstairs, carpeted, many seats, and a large screen put in for the comfort of the fan. And in the summertime, this lounge extends out to the racetrack, and there's picnic tables put on the outside, and you can have your favorite beverage right outside. We've updated the lighting system. We've added air conditioning to the sulky room, which wasn't here last year. Just came in to be late in the year, so people will have the full benefit of that as they move along. We've changed the office structure around quite a bit, and that new offices for management personnel and this type of thing. But basically, we've made a lot of changes here, and they're all geared for the comfort of the fan.
Sackville Downs seems to be on firm ground, but Pearson can't escape answering to rumors of an impending sale or move of the track.
Well, I can't really comment on that one way or the other one. I think that you'll find there'll always be harness racing in the Halifax area. I know that the people that own the track are land developers, and they bought it as an investment. They have made a commitment here to the track and to the horsemen and to management here. You can see the new facility spent some $500,000. I'm sure everything's for sale if the price is right. Somebody comes along and wants to buy my car, if the price is right, I'll sell it. And I'm sure, being that they're businessmen, I'm sure if somebody came along and offered them that, I don't know where the government would have to step in or anything else. I just prefer not to say too much about that right now.
In any event, Sackville Downs has enjoyed one of its best winters ever. And with improvements to the grandstand and the aggressive Glenn Pearson at the helm, look for an outstanding summer season as well. This is Paul Meunier for At the Track.
Every week will be a look at the major race of the week from around the Maritimes. This will include stake races, invitational races, name races, the Atlantic Sire Stakes, and many others. This week we went to Sackville Downs. We took a look at the Roby Kaiser Memorial. Dual-purpose race signals the end of the winter season and the start of the summer season in the Maritimes.
From Sackville Downs, the 1986 Roby Kaiser Memorial, a non-betting pace with a purse of $3,000. There are 3 starters. Jig Time Buddy, owned and driven by Barry Fagan of Moncton, New Brunswick, 4-year-old gelding, 9 starts this season, 3 wins, 3 place, and 1 show. Heels Lad, owned by J. Brad Smith, New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, 5-year-old gelding. Driver is Dave Carey. 9 starts, 5, 2, and 2 the record. And from Opinions Farm in Shubatackany, Nova Scotia, driven by Winston Campbell, 6-year-old Winner's Accolade, with 6 starts this season and 6 wins.
I guess it's about 15 or 16 times now that Roby Kaiser's been going. You know who Roby Kaiser was. He was a gentleman that was involved with winter racing some years back, and one of the first, in fact, to be associated with winter racing, one of the founders of it. And he died in a car accident in the Mount Uniacke area some years back. And ever since then, we've had a Roby Kaiser Memorial, and all of the members of the club come out here on Roby Kaiser Day, and we certainly like to keep it going, Paul. It's kind of the best race of the winter season.
This really does mark the end of the winter and beginning of the summer season.
Yes, it does. And for all the fans, we go on a new schedule now, too. We'll get a plug in here Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday nights. We're going to try Friday nights this year and see how it works out.
They're up. Heels Lad off the gate. First looks for the lead. Winner's Accolade driving up on the outside. Jig Time Buddy pacing along the rail. They go to the turn. Heels Lad leading. Winner's Accolade parked outside of him is second and looks for the front end. They go by the 8th into the backstretch. The first 8, 13 and a piece. They're moving through the backstretch, going to the quarter. As they arrive at the quarter, Winner's Accolade taking over the top spot. Heels Lad races second, and Jig Time Buddy is at the back of the field. Opening quarter, 28 2/5. They move on to the upper turn. As they arrive now at the 3/8, winner's Accolade off the top, leading by 1. Enjoying it in behind him. Second is Heels Lad. 2 lengths in back, Jig Time Buddy. They're off the top turn, straightening out through the stretch. First time as they move up to the halfway point. They pass the grandstand. Winner's Accolade leads by 1 over Heels Lad. Starting to catch up a bit. 3 is Jig Time Buddy. As they pass the halfway point, they reach the half. 59 1/5. They travel on to the 5/8. Winner's Accolade is still there. Heels Lad stays tied up in 2. Jig Time Buddy racing at the back. They move by the 5/8 into the back stretch for the second time. Winner's Accolade still strong on the front end. Heels Lad stays right with them as they go to the 3/4 pole. Jig Time Buddy now by 1.5, sitting in the 3 spot. They race to the 3/4. Winner's Accolade holds on to the top. Heels Lad and Jig Time Buddy still getting closer. 1:30 1/5. They travel to the upper turn. Winner's Accolade. Heels Lad now looks to the outside. Jig Time Buddy catches up. Here they come off the turn into the lane for home. Winner's Accolade, Heels Lad to the outside. Jig Time Buddy comes 3 wide. 3 of them into contention. They're driving through the lane. Winner's Accolade, Heels Lad moving on. Jig Time Buddy closing way on the outside. As they come to the wire, it's going to be Heels Lad, Jig Time Buddy, and Winner's Accolade.
So do you think the horse you were driving would be able to get that extra push at the end like it did?
Oh, he always gets home pretty good. Like, especially if a horse comes outside of him, that's when he really tries. He's like, when the other horse come on the outside of him, well, then he kicked right into gear.
What was the game plan as you left, as the gate pulled away?
There wasn't any plan, really. I just got behind the gate and see what happens. The gate was getting out of there good, and when I seen it was leaving that fast, I figured I could beat the real horse away. And once you beat him away, well, you just sit there and let the other horse cut it. That's all.
All right. What does winning the Roby Kaiser mean to you?
It's kind of nice. Always nice to win the Roby Kaiser. I mean, my father raced horses years ago in at the old exhibition track in the Commons, and Roby Kaiser was always the thing. You know.
Well, that's all I can tell you, really. You just work pretty hard with the little fellow to get him there, and the trainer Ronnie Mason up here has a lot to do with it, and Dave, it takes a whole bunch to get the job done. So, really.
Didn't look like he'd have it there for most of the race.
Well, he's a pretty tough little fellow, and he got a real good trip behind a good horse, so that's just fantastic.
Heels Lad, winner of the 1986 Roby Kaiser Memorial. This is Paul Meunier for At the Track.
Activity is starting to pick up throughout the Maritimes at the tracks as spring is here and summer's just around the corner. At St. John's Exhibition Park Raceway, the first leg of the 5-race Labatt Blue Crown Series. The winner there, Gemini Risk, over a slow track in 2:02 1. Over at Charlottetown at the CDP, the aged horse of the year from 1985, Worthy Gift, coming home in 2:04 4. Summerside wrapped up its Saturday afternoon program. The Dominion Square Cup final was the big race, and the winner, Maple Leaf Blue Sky, in 2:06 2. The overall series winner was Volvic, winning that on points. At Champlain Raceway in Dieppe, it was a great 21st birthday for Darrell McLean. He had 2 winners, and they were good-looking 3-year-old colts. Gilcairn Direct quickest of them all in 2:03. The 1986 season opened at Truro Raceway on Tuesday night, and of course, racing as usual at Tartan Downs in Sydney. Each week at the track, we'll look at and explain some of the terminology involved in the world of harness racing. This week, we'll focus our attention on the pari-mutuel wagering aspect of the sport. You must correctly select the winners of 2 consecutive races. What is the question? How does the Daily Double operate? Join us next week, and we'll explain more from the world of harness racing on At the Track Glossary. Well, a busy week is shaping up throughout the Maritimes in harness racing, and the big news will be the continuance of the Labatt Blue Crown Series at Exhibition Park Raceway in St. John. It'll be the $3,000 third leg. There'll be 1 more preliminary leg, and then the $5,000 final. Throughout the Maritimes, there will be, of course, invitational events at each and every track. And as we mentioned before, all the tracks are in swing, so a busy and exciting week in harness racing. Bred. That's the name for it, much the same as thoroughbred is for running horses and purebred for dogs. In harness racing, an interesting feature. It all goes back to one horse imported to North America in the mid-1700s. This is his story coming up.
Harness racing in North America traces its performance records to 1806, when a horse from Boston named Yankee trotted the first mile faster than 3 minutes. The sport traces its history, however, to this horse, the English thoroughbred runner Messenger, who was foaled in 1780 and was imported to the United States 8 years later, arriving in Philadelphia in May 1788. In England, Messenger was a fast and successful, but not spectacular runner. It was in America that immortality awaited him at the sign of the Black Horse Tavern on Market Street in Philadelphia, where he started his career as a public stallion. Messenger was a gray, like his sire Mambrino, which is ironic since there are very few gray harness horses today, although all of them trace back to Messenger through his great-grandson, Hambletonian. Messenger not only founded on the race courses and the roads of America the most dominant breed of light harness horse, but also contributed through his daughter Miller's Damsel and her son American Eclipse to the history and pedigree of the American running turf, with great champions of the past like Equipoise and Exterminator and Gallant Fox and Man o' War tracing to him, as well as many of the great running champions of the present. It was Messenger's prepotence as a progenitor of trotting horses, however, that he gained his greatest fame. Like many of his family, although a runner, he showed an ability to trot, and he passed it on in a remarkable degree to his sons and daughters, who could trot farther and faster than any other horses in America. When his great-grandson Hambletonian arrived on the scene in 1849, the die was cast for a new breed of harness horse, one so potent that it obliterated every other strain of trotting and pacing horse in America, with the result that today all 60,000 that race in North America can be traced directly to Hambletonian and thus to Messenger. It is almost 200 years since Messenger arrived in this country. He served stallion duty in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, and became the best-known horse in the nation. When he died in Oyster Bay, Long Island in 1808, he already was a legend, and the marker on his grave correctly identified him as the great founder of the breed of standard-bred light harness horses in America, throughout Europe, and in Australasia.
That's it for the first edition of At the Track. We'll be back again next week at the same time. And next week, we'll have a tour of Exhibition Park Raceway in St. John. And all you want to know about harness racing driving with Wally Hennessy, a feature looking at the stars of 1985 throughout North America. I'm Howie Trainer. At the Track returns next week.
At the Track has been brought to you by